Welcome into fifth quarter extra, everybody. I'm Simone Eli alongside Gerhard Mathangani as we are recapping week 6 of the high school football season. And Gerhard, this is one of those weeks where, everyone's playing either non-region games or they're on the bye. This is the midway point of the regular season. So a lot of matchups we don't typically see, but this was definitely on display tonight. Yeah,
coaches can get really creative about who they schedule, what they schedule, why they schedule it, and a lot of chances to get some rivalry games in as well. We saw that over in the Eastern Shore. So it's a great scheduling spot, in my opinion. And then you don't know which one of these games will be a tiebreaker later on as well. So
could come into play.
They're big right now for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, they definitely are. When you look at maybe like Region 6A, Region 1, you got a lot of those close 4-5 teams looking for that last playoff spot. And so when you have those triple tiebreakers or whatever it looks like, this is where these games really, really matter. This is where a lot of coaches try to schedule an opponent who is within 2 classes of their class. So if you're a 7A school, you don't want to schedule anybody 5A or below 5A, so or they wouldn't count in the tiebreaker at all.
Right.
I mean, that's a big part of scheduling, and it's always a challenge for a lot of these coaches when they're looking for non-region opponents who will have an impact on the playoff picture.
Yeah, if you're a fan out there, one sneaky thing that you need to remember is to root for your non-region opponents to all win. If they the more games they win, the better it is for you
if you need them
and your tiebreaker later on the season.
No doubt, no doubt. And we had a very unique and exciting matchup for our game of the week out at Cooper Stadium, where UMS Wright played host to TR Miller. Let's get right to it, Gerhard. You were out at this game. An exciting atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, the number 1 team in the state coming off that big 33-28 victory last week over Hillcrest Evergreen. And this is the Florida commit, Miles Johnson, off to a nice start here, an early 7-0 lead for TR Miller. Good shot there of Coach Brent Hubbard. But things kind of changed a little bit. The momentum and dynamic changed after this punt. And UMS Wright comes up with it after the muffed punt by the Tigers, and they go right back to work here. This is a great pitch and catch here.
Yeah, it is.
As Max Fowler, I should say, gets on the board. A beautiful catch there by Denton Elliott. We got a chance to talk to him earlier in this week. He was really fired up about this game. This is Johnson once again, a 22-yard run, and you can just tell his strength
beast,
here.
Man.
He is. He is just a monster. I think he's more of a pure defender on the next level, but playing well offensively here, really helping out this number 1 team stay undefeated on the season. Simona Perfect 6-0 after a 28-14 win today at UMS Wright.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, this is the winningest program, of course, in Alabama football history up against the winningest coach. And so a big opportunity for both programs. I think that we know that when it comes to just pure skill guys, that this year TR Miller just has more dudes than UMS Wright does. And UMS Wright has won 5 straight against this team. I know that the series is very close. It's tied now, right?
That's right, yeah.
So each team they've split this series 17-17 games in total. But TR Miller proving why they really are the number 1 team in the state in Class 3A. Miles Johnson, a huge part of that. And what a great young man on and off the field. We had a chance to speak to him last week going into their game of the week against Hillcrest Evergreen. He was incredible in that game as well. But just a really, really great student athlete, and just really enjoyed getting to know him.
And he's a leader, and you could tell that they really rely on him. And one of the things I got a chance to talk to Coach Terry Curtis this previous week, and he said that even he saw on film that they just kind of follow his lead. And him, Nathan Commander, a lot of these guys on offense, Eli Hubbard, there's a lot of these dudes that, but they kind of go as 32 goes. And Miles Johnson came up big last week. Special teams, offense, and defense did the same thing tonight in the big win. And as you mentioned, snap the losing streak, which I know they're really proud of.
Yes, absolutely. There's no question about that. If you're just tuning in, this is fifth quarter extra. Gerhard Mathangani, Simone Eli joining you. We just got off the air a little bit ago. Appreciate the comments so far. We will get to Orange Beach. We're looking forward to that. We'll get to Spanish Fort as well. A huge win for Spanish Fort for sure. MGM picked up a big win yesterday in Thursday night action, and so we will have several games this evening. We were at every game in our general area here in Mobile and Baldwin County. Before we do, I want to give a quick update and send some thoughts over to Ken Lett, a football player over at TR Miller. This was the scene at UMS Wright. Gerhard, you were there when Mr. Lett was injured on the very first play of the opening kickoff, and you see him here being put into the back of the ambulance. And I spoke with head coach Brent Hubbard just a little bit ago with TR Miller, and he told me that Ken Lett is in surgery right now. And so that's definitely not the thing that you want to hear at all, but such an incredible class. This is from Coach Hubbard mentioned on social media, this is the classiest program in the state, and gave credit to Terry Curtis leading prayer right there for his guys and for both programs right on the field there at UMS. And just a really scary scene, nothing that you ever want to see. And so before we really go in deeper into these highlights, did want to offer prayers and thoughts for Ken Lett, for his family, and for all of the T.R. Miller program.
Yeah, and we know a lot of you football fans out there are doing the exact same thing. It was a really scary sight, but two shout-outs, especially to the medical crew. They were on the field immediately, Simone. They ran out there as soon as they found out that he wasn't moving on the field, but he was talking. They immediately got the ambulance crew out there. They were so good at being able to get him in. And then the moment that the ambulance door closed, Terry Curtis got everybody's attention.
I love that, yeah.
And said, hey, guys, before we go back to our sidelines and start breaking down and talking football and talking scheme, let's just show what we're together. And each team held prayers individually, but that moment was so powerful. And it was about 90 seconds or so, and you just felt it in that moment. And it did take a while. I have chills
literally just thinking about that and watching those scenes. I mean, that's just that's one of those things where you realize that it's way bigger than the game. And
it certainly is. And it took a minute for everybody to get back in football mode. You could just tell a few plays after that, but everybody was able to regroup, understand that your mind is still on Ken Lett. And he said right before he went into the ambulance, he said he wanted his guys to win, and he audibly heard it. And so I think that his guys really felt that, and his brothers went out and played. They scored on that next drive as well. So I know they were with heavy hearts knowing that situation. Yeah. However, great response by the medical crew, and great classy move there by Coach Curtis.
Heads off to both programs, and best of luck to Ken Lett and T.R. Miller moving forward. All right, guys, another big game here for week 6 of the season. Again, if you're just tuning in, we're at the midway point. It's crazy to believe that we're already 6 weeks into this deal, guys. And Spanish Fort has been one of the hottest programs in 6A for a really, really long time. They've always kind of been that right below that Saraland team in Class 6A Region 1. Tonight going non-region, of course, welcoming Daphne in, their neighbors from just south there in Baldwin County. Let's head to the Hill in Spanish Fort, where Chase Smith and Kenny King, of course, meeting here in pregame. And man, the crowd was fired up for this one, as they always are for any sort of local Baldwin rivalry games going on. And a lot of excitement into this game. Check this out. Early on, first drive here for Daphne. They come out firing, man. Hats off to the offensive attack here. Mikael Willoughby battles his way into the end zone to make it 7-0. The Trojans get the start early on. But don't blink. This guy can take off, man. Sawyer Wilson, he was our Zaxby's Player of the Week last year. Yeah. And wow. 78 yards to the house would tie the game on the next possession, and that score would hold for quite some time until the last minute or so of the first half. And then one of the best throws you will see in high school football this year. Aiden Schamberger connects with Damian Tate on an unbelievable pitch and catch. I'm going to run that one back. It's actually one of our play of the week options for good reason, guys, because wow, I mean, it was only 37 yards, but he threw that from about the 50. I mean, if you're looking at where the Toro head is out there, I mean, he goes back. I mean, he's on the logo, bro. I mean, and that was like effortless
just
there
by
Schamberger. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What a ball. And so Spanish Fort is actually going to win this game. 21-7 was the final. They got a defensive touchdown. If you're watching it live on the broadcast, the game broadcast there, do a great job. Jim Cox and those guys do a great job on the game broadcast. And 21-7 was the final on the Hill in Spanish Fort. They beat Daphne. And listen, man, I mean, you got to know that if you're a Daphne team that, like, you battle. I mean, you saw Thibodeau out there doing everything that he could do offensively. He's a young guy, just a sophomore gunslinger for them, and he's been great the last couple of weeks. But a couple of tough losses for Daphne. On the other end, if you're Spanish Fort, you're feeling pretty good about life right now, sitting there with just one loss against Saraland.
Yeah, I think the Spanish Fort really rallied. We saw it the game after Saraland. They really came out and showed that you're not going to lose the same game twice, so to speak. There's a lot of that talk that after you lose a game, you feel down and you don't play well the next game. They got right back up, and they so far have done it in this rivalry as well. You mentioned how elated they were on the broadcast. We having to watch the end of the game on the broadcast there. But this is now 4 wins in a row for the Toros over the Trojans. Last few games have been one-possession games, 35-27, 18-15. They pulled away at the end here, as you mentioned just a minute ago, 21-7. So shout out there to Coach Chase Smith. This is a real good win.
Yeah.
Because this Dabney team is really, really good, especially defensively.
Yeah, no question about that. All right, guys, we still have several games to come here on Fifth Quarter Extra. We're going to hit up LaFleur, Fairhope, McGill-Tulane, Cottage Hill at Choctaw County, Faith, Orange Beach, guys. If you are on the beach, man, you're having a party with Coach Wade Weldrup. 3 in a row. We'll get to them in just a minute. And then several of our Thursday games. Next up, let's head over to LaFleur, where the #1 Jackson Aggies taking on the Rattlers, G.
Yeah, this is another Jackson non-region matchup. We saw them against Saraland early on in the year. We saw them last week in a region game against Mobile Christian. They have playmakers everywhere. Our reigning Zaxby's player of the week, it's not this guy, the All-American, E.J. Crowell. It's actually the quarterback, Landon Duckworth. But
EJ could win it just about every single week if he wanted to. So, I mean, he's unbelievable. He's the #1 running back in the 27 class for good reason.
Yeah, you'll see why in these highlights, because he's just got a great combination of power and of speed, and his defense has been phenomenal as well for Coach Cody Flournoy, better known as Coach Flo out there in Jackson. Shout out to Coach Flo. But he's got these guys really locked in mentally, I believe. They have a one-track mind. They want to win a state championship. Football. And they've taken 2 long road trips down to Mobile County, down to Saraland, now here playing at LaFleur. It seems like whether they're in Jackson or in Mobile County, they seem to get it done. Yep, they certainly do. And Crowell gets 2 touchdowns there in the first half. They go on to win it big, 42-6, the final score in that one.
Yeah, a big win, no doubt, for the Aggies. We spoke with Coach Flournoy and, of course, Landon, the quarterback, who was our Aggies Player of the Week. And like you mentioned, when we talked to them just a couple days ago, it was on Tuesday, we were up there at Jackson awarding the Player of the Week. You could tell that they were excited that we were up there.
For sure, yeah.
And they were appreciative. And we appreciate that. We like, going out there and surprising kids and stuff. But it was like the mind is on the task, too. Like they're not letting any award go to their head. And that's the sort of guy that you want on your roster. So hat tip to those guys. I mean, there's no question that they know what the mission is for sure. All right, we are going to continue with non-region play back across the bay as Fairhope and Theodore go head-to-head. And make no mistake, even though this was a non-region game, huge opportunity week for these 2 teams looking for a big win. Proud programs who have historically had a lot of success and recently haven't done as much as they would have liked to. Early on in this game, not great protection here on this field goal attempt for Theodore, but Fairhope going to try to get something going offensively. And to the Bobcats' credit, they're going to pick up defensively. You'll see here in just a moment the defensive play here by Ashton Whitfield to make the great interception there deep in their own territory and be able to get the turnover. But then on the other side, all right, so the Bobcats trying to get something going offensively. There's no score in this game as of yet, by the way. Of course, we're at Fairhope. And this one, shout out to the Fairhope defense, because Patrick Harbin Jr. says, I'll take that. A great snag out of the air and a great return. He gets it to the 10-yard line, and that would set up the one and only Jackson Robertson, who we've seen do several things throughout the year. Let's pick it up here where Jackson Robertson's going to get things going offensively in striking distance. Check it out. All right, here's Robertson. And he's going to buy some time. And then he just kind of sidearmed this. I'm not trying to say it's Patrick Mahomes, guys, but that's a little Mahomey looking, all right? And he hits like Harrison Cook. I mean, it looks effortless to make it 7-0 Fairhope and a great momentum play there. However, it's a tale of 2 halves when it comes to football, and especially at the high school level. It's all about making adjustments. And Steve Mask and company go into halftime, and they come out, they score 15 unanswered, and they win 15-7. Yeah. And that was a huge needed win for Coach Mask and the Bobcats. They've been very, very close for a couple of weeks in region play. They step out of region knowing that they need some momentum in the back half to go ahead and try to make that run for the playoffs, and I think that they got that tonight in the win over Fairhope.
I feel like they do nothing but play close games, especially here at the beginning part of the season. Yep. But as you said, hat tip to Coach Mask and that coaching staff being able to just change things up, make some tweaks there in that second half to be able to make the plays to come up and win that one, a big non-region game. Of course, they'll be rooting for Fairhope down the road just in case they need that for that tiebreaker. We talk about those razor-thin margins, and so we might be talking about this game late October. Yes,
no doubt. We will see if this one has a factor in the 6A Region 1 standings. All right, guys, we're going to keep things moving and continue to keep the conversation going here. We have Pat O'Donnell behind the scenes. He's our great producer, interacting with you guys here on Facebook. So if you're here on the live stream, be sure to tell us what you're thinking. Give us your thoughts on games. Let us know any scores that we we haven't mentioned yet, and we'll be sure to get to them as well as we move through. Let's head over to the Lip here in Mobile, where Davidson looking to bounce back from that heartbreaker to Alma Bryant last week, taking on the Yellow Jackets, G.
Yeah, this was a really interesting matchup. Another 6A versus 7A. We saw this at the beginning of the season. We're seeing it again now here at the midway point of the year. That was a great play from Andrew Murchison to Jack Lenigan for that big play, and then it led to Ladarian Miller, a touchdown the very next play. And then the McGill-Tulane defense really steps up here. That is a fourth down play. They're unable to get the sticks, and so it's a turnover on downs. And then a little bit later on, it's Miller once again, matching his jersey.
This play, man.
Matching his jersey number. This is another one of the options for play of the week. His jersey number 2. He's got 2 touchdowns in the first half, and on to the big win there for the Yellow Jackets. So Coach David Faulkner and his crew, we talked about it at the beginning of the season, how Murchison looks better in the offense. Miller looks a little bit more fluid. And so they were able to get a big win today over Davidson. The final score in that one was 42-13 at the Lip.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, Coach Faulkner looking to see his guys take that next step. And when you get to the midway point in the season, you're hoping to see things look a little bit more fluid and the guys be a little bit more comfortable. You have the offseason changes. You kind of have to deal with all of the interworkings that come with the roster management. Nonetheless, a big win for McGill, and at home, of course, playing up into Class 7A over Davidson. All right, guys, let's keep things moving. Let's head out to Faith Academy, where old region foes going head-to-head in St. Paul's and Faith Academy here. Now, of course, this game is no longer a region game because St. Paul's is up in 6A due to the competitive balance rule, and St. Paul's is undefeated on the year, guys. Look out for the Saints and Coach Ham Barnett, because they've won some close ones, but nonetheless, unbeaten's unbeaten. So check it out here. A little bit reverse. They go with some trickery here on the road at Faith Academy. And Tate Johnston, the younger brother of the Johnston brothers who played at Spanish Fort back in the day. I was back down here about 10 years ago covering those guys, went to UAB and had great careers. And Tate Johnston getting it done on the reverse there. We'll see more of him in just a moment. Later on, it's going to be Kenny Johnson going to the air to Carson Stevens. And, man, Carson Stevens raced to the pylon, gets there. And shout out to our great reporter, Jeremy Jones, man. Our MMJs, they're shooting some of these highlights. He texted me, he said, I've almost gotten hit like 4 times. I'm like, Jeremy, you're going to survive, bro. But listen, he did stick in on that one. I might have bailed on that one. That was close. I would take an ankle out or something there. I wasn't going to try to get hit by Stevens. Later is Johnson to Johnston. Beautiful pitch and catch, man. And, wow, I'm not going to lie. That was an unbelievable catch. Let's go back to that. Look at the point of the point of the catch here, man. Johnston gets up. Those are those athletic genes he gets from his mama. She's a good lady. Shout out to Miss Johnston. Love her. Look at this. Great catch, man. Yeah, and in for the score. And a big win for St. Paul's. I don't think there's any question that this is a down year for Faith Academy. Okay, they're trying to get things going a little bit. Each week we talk about that, and they're battle tested. They've played several very, very tough opponents. They dropped this one here. I know that they picked up a win against Alberta. I think was that last week. And so listen. I mean, hang in there with the Rams, guys. They're still dealing with a lot of late changes and some things they need to kind of get rolling, and that will come to fruition. But if you're Ham Barnett and if you're the Saints, you're feeling pretty good about life. The final score in that game was 43-0, and they're really hitting on all cylinders, man.
Can I ask you a question? Is this the quietest 5-0 you've seen?
Which is crazy because Ham Barnett ain't quiet, by the way.
He's not.
He is not quiet. He will let you know what he's thinking.
Exactly. But for a school of this that has this many state championships and this proud program, I think not people aren't paying attention, but they just barely cracked the polls. They're not ranked yet, but they're receiving votes. But I just think that this team is kind of under the radar. They won that first game in overtime, and I know they've had a couple blowouts, but I think at this point, moving forward, I think they'll be in the state rankings, and it just feels to me like this is a kind of a quiet 5-0 that this team had the quiet confidence all year.
Well, I think if you had to think about what we saw last year from Ham Barnett's team, okay, this was a team that got into the playoffs, and nobody really thought that St. Paul's would be a playoff team in such a very difficult 6A Region 1. But nonetheless, they get into the playoffs. Now they're right here in contention to, who knows what's going to happen in the back half of this season. And here's one thing that St. Paul's does that a lot of other teams don't do well. They play defense. Because guess what? In this day and age, in all of football, at every level, the NFL, college football, high school, for sure, lots of teams don't play defense. It's one of those, who can get to 50 first if you're just one of those high-flying offenses. But Ham Barnett and company, they're okay with playing those close games. That is going to pay off. You saw they were heart attack kids, whatever, cardiac kids, whatever
kids,
they call them, against UMS. I mean, they threw together that last-minute field goal. I still don't believe how that even happened. And then you saw them a week ago against Theodore, who I don't think anyone really thought was going to be in that game. No disrespect to Theodore, it's just they don't have the dudes right now. And that's a one-score game, 14-7.
Yep.
And they're getting it done down the stretch. That's a well-coached team.
They really are. And you mentioned the defensive part, and I think that's where Ham Barnett really he's the defensive guy, and I think that he really hangs his hat on that. But they had a shutout before that game. They gave up 7 points. They had a shutout the week before that game against Murphy, 41-0. Then, as you mentioned, 14-7, but 0 points in the second half, and then another shutout today. So. Literally, they've allowed 1 touchdown in the last 12 quarters of football. That's good defense. And as you mentioned, I think that'll really propel this team forward. They have one of the best defensive players in the entire country, and Tank Jones there.
Plays both ways. Put your athletes on both sides of the field.
Exactly.
That right there. Hold that thought.
Theme of the day.
There's a theme of the actual day, guys. We're going to go into the next highlights. And this right here,
Give it to
I would just like to tell everybody who wanted to come at me for telling you that Wade Waldrop was going to make a difference at Orange Beach. And I wanted to say, go take your opinion somewhere else. That's what I want to say. Because we're on TV, and that's what I have to say. Okay, here's the deal, all right? Wade Waldrop knows how to win, okay? The dude comes down here with an Orange Beach team that didn't do a whole heck of a lot a year ago, and he put his dudes where they needed to go. So we're going to run this back right quick. Check out the Makos right here. Hosting Class 7A Robertsdale, who is also on the rise, by the way. Make no mistake, Robertsdale is getting better every single day, okay? So check out this play. Here's McAlpine. He's going to hit Caden Shows, putting on a show, down to like the 1 yard line. Then Andrew Beck. Big old Andrew Beck, guys, okay? Listen, man, they said, hey, don't worry about playing left tackle. Come play running back. And they've given him the ball. And here he is, punching his way into the end zone, man. 7-0 at that point. Later on, Blake Bruneck here in for the score. It's 14-0 with in the first quarter. Well, that was pretty quick. In the first few minutes of the game, nonetheless. And later, defensively making it happen. They forced the turnover here. But nonetheless, Orange Beach gets the victory, guys. The final score in this game was 45-14 for 3 wins in a row. Wade Waldrop was our coach of the week a couple weeks ago. Had some people texting me, they beat WS Neal. Like, come on, man, whatever.
Yeah.
Listen, man. Love y'all for your opinions, and I appreciate them. You can keep sending them. That's perfectly fine. But give credit where credit's due.
For sure.
3 wins in a row with a team that didn't do a ton in the last year, but you put your talented guys where they need to go. Hat tip to the Makos.
Yeah, I think that he knows that he's building a culture, and at the same time, the new facilities are coming in. There's a lot of just excitement, brewing excitement. I think we use the word quiet confidence for St. Paul's. I think it also fits in this perspective as well. I think the Makos understand, hey, we're building something that we can really rely on. But so is Robertsdale, by the way. Coach Chris Bell doing a good job over there.
No disrespect to Coach Bell, absolutely.
This is a really, really great win for the Makos. And as you mentioned, you're a coach and a soothsayer. A little fortune teller there.
I know.
Saying that Coach Walter will make a difference. He's shown halfway through the season.
Well, he's beat a 5A opponent, and he's beat a 7A opponent, and then, of course, his region wins. So, listen, hat tip, got to give credit where it's due. Let's look back to Thursday night. Before we do, let's go just check out Cottage Hill really quick. Want to give a shout-out to the Tootle brothers getting it done, man. Number 1 just stands out on his own right running out there. But check this out. Shamar Tootle here is going to connect with his receiver on the 67-yard touchdown. That was to Trevor Thomas to make it 7-0. Later, it's Shadarius Tootle in for the touchdown run there. He's the Auburn commit, obviously. And Shamar Tootle, just a freshman for Cottage Hill, you guys, had 4 touchdown passes on the day as they absolutely rout their opponent. That was Choctaw County. Those highlights, I have those highlights a minute ago. Yeah, okay. I want to make sure I hit the camera at the wrong time. Got a lot going on over here. Got fired up out of Orange Beach, and I'm sweating now. So that's what the Makos do when I start getting my opinions out there. But anyway, so shout out to Cottage Hill getting the shutout victory, 40-0.
Yeah, Carvel Jones and company. They knew they just had to stay the course there. And you mentioned
part of high school football. Stay the course. All right. Speaking of staying the course, how about MGM? They're actually making the course. And also staying in it. Shout out to the homecoming queen, guys.
Maddie Ezel.
Maddie Ezel. You knew that one off the top of your head there, G. Shondell Harris, he's a problem, guys. He's a problem in Class 7A, Region 1, in Class 7A altogether. In for the touchdown there, makes it 7-0. Shondell Harris a little bit later on going to be sacked. So, listen, man, I mean, Baldwin County is a work in progress. I think that with a new coaching staff and new scheme, new everything, I mean, they're trying to get things going on both sides of the ball still a little bit. So shout out to the Tigers. But right now, Zach Golson has a well-oiled machine in Sims. Make no mistake about that. G, later on, Devin Petway for the short yardage touchdown. And MGM is going to ball out 42-0.
Yeah, this is a team that we talked about it going into the season. A lot of questions about this offense. New quarterback at Shondell Harris. Well, I think you nailed it on the head. He's just a playmaker.
Yeah.
He was a playmaker last year. Now he just gets the ball every down. And
Yeah.
we've seen Petway, we've seen Bolton, we've seen all these guys come up and make huge plays. Shout out to John Stevens and the offensive line. The defense has really come together. This is a team not resting on their laurels of making the 7A semifinals last year. They want more this year. So far, so good.
And they're not playing down to their opponents.
Right. And it would be so easy to at this point.
Very easy to because they are head and shoulders above pretty much every team in their region.
In the region, for sure.
They're going to go to an Alma Bryant team who is struggling right now on Thursday. Yeah. And, I mean, they're a well-oiled machine. And so hat tip to what Zach Golson's been able to do with a program that not 2 years ago won just – 1 or 2 games. I mean, not a whole heck of a lot. Then they go to the semifinals. All right. Also, last night, Citronelle visiting Alma Bryant. Of course, the hurricane flags making everybody a little bit nervous, but luckily that stayed all a little bit east of us there, G.
Yeah, it did. And defense was the name of the game in this one. This is Eli Collier, a nice interception there.
It was.
Yeah, for sure in the first half. And there's Coach Bart Sessions. Guy you know really well.
All right.
And then a little bit later on, another pickoff here is C.C. Noyd with the interception.
C.C. I texted Coach Rowell. I was like, hey, I see on social media that this guy, Curvin, his name's Curvin, which is kind of great in its own right. I'm not going to lie. If my name was Curvin, I'd be doing all types of things with that. But Curvin making plays here, man. I ain't going to lie. And then, okay, they go for 2, and they go up 8-0, then they win 29-6. All right, that's enough of that. Just kidding. Citronelle faithful. I actually love those guys, but but nonetheless, that's actually up for one of our plays of the week. C.C. Noyd, Curvin C.C. Noyd with the pick 6.
That's a name right there. That's a highlight name. Made a great play there. Good win for Coach Rowell and the boys.
Yeah, it definitely is. Citronelle will get back into region play next week against UMS Wright. So definitely, you never know with Terry's group, man. Don't count them out. But right now, Coach Rowell has those guys rolling for sure. Also, yesterday we had Bayshore Christian was at home. Let's run those highlights quick. And Bayshore Christian, man, listen, Florala, I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. Florala just able to have a couple more athletes than Bayshore Christian. And at the end of the day, they get the dub on the road.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is a starter program. They've already won their first game. They're new to football, and so playing obviously a lot of young guys, and obviously a great catch here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one-handed catch, I mean, listen, we were even joking because we were like, hey, Florala is not really one of our teams, or else we would make that our one of the play of the week options. But that was pretty good. That was pretty good there for sure. But a little later, Bayshore able to get on the board, get things going offensively. But nonetheless, the Eagles do fall 45-14 to the Wildcats. But a lot to be excited about with that program as they continue to build just their first year of varsity play.
Yeah, Coach Lassenby doing a great job just keeping that team in it and just understanding, hey, just like we talked about with Orange Beach, but in a different form. We're building something here, and they're building something they can be proud of. And what they can be proud of from last night is their effort. Because as you mentioned, they really came in. Nate Crooms, their quarterback, Zach Wheeler, their wide receiver, being able to come out with a huge effort last night.
Yeah, and my bad, guys. We actually have more highlights from tonight. Somehow they got below our Thursday night game. So let's head out to Ladd Stadium where Williamson Murphy, 2 teams. Who's the home team in this game? I mean, who even knows?
Yeah, but
which locker room do you use?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Use the visiting locker room?
Not even sure. They should be getting their own field at some point. But anyways, Williamson is really good. And listen, Murphy's kind of dealing with a lot going on right now. Murphy obviously had their coach get fired earlier this week.
That's right.
And Justin Hanna was let go, and Coach Lambert now taking over as the interim coach for Murphy. And Williamson right now is kind of a well-oiled machine. There's a reason that they are ranked 10th in the state right now in Class 5A. They're one of the best defenses, but they also can get it done offensively. So I'm going to start these highlights back over, G, so we can go back through these games.
Yeah, this is a great defensive play here. Ronald Poole Jr. comes up with the scoop and score. This team has been built on defense. Coach Antonio Coleman, he understands that he's got a lot of playmakers on both sides of the ball, but defense and special teams, I think, is what separates this Lions football team. We talked about the defense. You saw it there. Here's the special teams. A big play here by Tyler Homan and early 16-0 lead. And we've seen Alvin and the offense run, but they put the younger guy in here. They put the backup quarterback in here.
I would too if you're up
point.
that big.
Yep, Isaiah Dunnigan gets it done. hits John Austin for the touchdown. Kind of everybody getting into it as Williamson wins once again. They've just been impressive all season long, and I think that there's a lot to be proud of if you are a Williamson Lion going into the thick of your season after what happened last year. And it was a little disjointed. This offseason was a little disjointed as well. But Coach Coleman has righted the ship, so to speak, and he's got these guys rolling in the right direction.
Yeah, Coach Cook coming in, a couple other guys
Yep.
that they've made some changes there on the staff, and you can tell that these players are really, really responding. All right, still from this evening, Satsuma visiting St. Luke's. Both teams looking for a big non-region Week 6 win here, G.
Yeah, this was an early big lead for Satsuma, 28-0 when we got there. But a nice play here as Brady Coleman finds Braylon Williams, a nice play indicator territory. But third down comes up just short. They settle for this field goal here, so it's now 28-3 at this point. And Coach Joe Gilmore, shout out to him. He's doing a great job in replacing Ron Lee in this program, keeping these guys in it. Satsuma just too strong today. That's Ja'Cory Fink with a touchdown there. 35-3, your final score. Satsuma continues to roll. They got a nice big win there on the road.
Yes, definitely. And we're going to go back to the top of our game list here. Well, G, check out some other scores that we had all throughout the area. I know Hillcrest Evergreen picked up a big win back at the top of our show earlier. Of course, when you watch the replay later on, you'll be able to see all of these highlights. But T.R. Miller beat UMS. Spanish Fort beats Daphne. McGill-Tulane beats Davidson. These are all non-region games, but nonetheless can have a huge impact on what we could see when it comes to postseason play and who's in the playoffs and tiebreakers and all that mess that we see later on. Theodore beats Fairhope at Fairhope. A big win for the Bobcats to get back into the win column for sure. Number 1 ranked Jackson Aggies go to LaFleur, and they win big. I think 55-20 was the final there because Coach Fleur and I just texted me about that one. St. Paul's shuts out Faith Academy. Old region foes now a 6 versus 5A matchup. No longer the same region because the Saints are playing up. Williamson beat Murphy, as we just saw. Orange Beach wins 3 in a row with a big win over Robertsdale, a Class 7A opponent going down to the beach. And Satsuma beats St. Luke's. We just saw that a minute ago. Cottage Hill shuts out Choctaw County.
Yeah, obviously some great stuff there from the games that we got. Some other games that we weren't able to go to. Flomaton and Jay, Florida, hooking up tonight. Flomaton getting the win there, 24-17. A game that we mentioned on the air. We want to mention it here as well. Clark County also getting a big win over Milry, 30-27, your final score there as well.
For sure. Like we mentioned off the top of the show, I want to lift up one of the T.R. Miller players in prayer. This was the scene I want to show you from the UMS Wright versus T.R. Miller game, our game of the week. And Ken Lett, T.R. Miller Tigers player, was injured in the first play, opening the kickoff. He was returning the kickoff. He was hit, and honestly, it didn't look like it was the most egregious thing that we've ever seen, but he was hit awkwardly near the head area. Nothing, no intentional anything in that regard.
Sure.
I'm not going to sit here and try to, tell you what injury it could be or couldn't be. I mean, when there's a reason we're not showing it. I mean, we're never going to be, we're not going to be out here and show injuries or things like that nature if we don't have to. Totally unnecessary to the story. But want to lift him up in prayer because Coach Brent Hubbard of T.R. Miller did give us an update just a little bit ago and mentioned that he's in surgery tonight. And so that's never what you want to see. You hope when you see guys shaken up or, get taken off of the field that it's a situation where, hey, they just, need to go rest up for a second and that they're up and alert and okay and all of that. And so when we got that comment about him being in surgery, man, just kind of was like a shot to the system a little bit when we were in the middle of the show and we got that update. And so want to lift him up in prayer and ask everyone else to do so because, you never want to see that happen. Terry Miller did, get the win and, in honor of their brother. I'm sure I know that Coach Hubbard gave a ton of credit to head coach Terry Curtis of UMS Wright for really stopping everything and just taking a moment to pray and keep everything in perspective in that moment.
Yeah, perspective, I think, is the key word in this situation. And I think, both teams, it was a shock to the system for both teams. I was there, and you felt it. You felt the energy of the entire stadium. Everybody just wanted the best for this one player. And you saw his family out there as well. Obviously, they were looking for answers, and so we obviously hope and wish and pray for the best. What I love about football fans is that, it can get hostile, for lack of a better term, and then it instantly can turn into prayer warriors. And I think that's what this football community did. I saw it there at the stadium, at Cooper Stadium. I know it's going on right now. If people see this or people watch it in the morning, just continue to keep Mr. Lett and his family in your prayers, though. But classy move by Terry Curtis, a guy that just he could be so knee deep into a game plan and then instantly understand, you use the word perspective of the moment again. He did so again tonight and really helped calm everybody down. It took a while to get back into football mode, but once they did, shout out to T.R. Miller because they regrouped really well playing for their brother and did a good job and got the win. Yeah,
and before we let you go, one other person that I want to lift up in prayer and just mention on this show here, Fifth Quarter Extra, before we go. If you've ever read a high school article for any sport or really anything at all with AL.com, I can pretty much guarantee you that it was written by a guy named Ben Thomas. If you follow high school football in any capacity in this state, I can promise you he's the guy. He is the guy for AL.com. A very good friend of mine has been for the better part of 10 years. Gerhard, I know that you consider him a great friend as well. Right. He's in Birmingham tonight, and unfortunately, his granddaughter, who was just 13 days old, has passed away. And we've seen a lot of support. We were able to put together a GoFundMe before baby Maxie was born that raised a lot of money for this family. But at the end of the day, there's really no amount of money that can replace what they have lost. And unfortunately, after 2 heart surgeries, baby Maxie was not able to make it. And so we just offer a lot of prayers to our good friend Ben Thomas and to Alyssa, the mother of baby Maxie, Michelle, Ben's wife, and just everybody that's been touched by this story over the last couple of weeks, because, you know, again, it's one of those things that sometime between 8 and 9 o'clock, you know, I think we got this update, and man, I didn't even want to do the show at that point, because it's just one of those things that really puts things in perspective, and my heart just breaks for Ben. I know that they're up there in Birmingham right now, and so just want him to know that, of course, here at Fifth Quarter and WKRG News 5, that we're thinking about him and praying for him, and I know that really statewide that a lot of people are. Yeah, he's one of these guys that just, you associate him with high school athletics because he does it for passion. He does it because he loves it, and he is so well known and so well respected in so many communities, he and his family, and they knew that this would be a very tough road, and people have prayed for him. And also I want to just shout out the community that came out and supported him, you know, so well. And shout out to you, Simone, as well, because you knew instantly. And I'll let you tell what you want to tell, but you've been really instrumental in helping get people to understand his story, because he's one that'll tell the story of everybody else, but he won't tell the story of himself. Never. But you did a good job of being able to be the megaphone for him and what his family needed at the time, needs now, and of course they'll need your prayers and support as they move forward. But I wanted to shout you out as well, because you're very instrumental in that part as well. And Ben obviously is a great friend, somebody that we love, and we know, as we said earlier with Mr. Lett, the prayer warriors are out there, and we hope that we're out there for both of these guys. Yeah, and I appreciate that. And, you know, I mean, it just really goes to show the impact that Ben and his family has had really statewide as coaches, and just people who he has touched all throughout his life, and that Miss Michelle has touched in her life. And just this story really resonated with a lot of people. And this is a guy who would never ask for anything ever. He's always going to put other people first. He is a man of so much faith, and I mean, that part of me is able to just hold on to that and know that, like, they're gonna be okay, you know, because I know that he is such a man of faith, and I know that that's gonna help pull them through this horrific time. But definitely want to offer our prayers. That GoFundMe continues to be live. If you go to any of my social media pages, you will see it. It is in support of Ben Thomas. If you are interested in helping, obviously, baby Maxie and the family as they move forward and navigate such a sad and difficult time, for sure. So again, our thoughts and prayers are for Ben, Michelle, and Alyssa, and the family, of course, of baby Maxie. And so, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Fifth Quarter Extra. Don't want to end it on this kind of solemn note, but I think it's important to keep things in perspective. And honestly, that's kind of weighing on my heart, and I think it is yours too. And honestly, at the end of the day, that life is bigger than football. And so we appreciate you guys tuning in. We love doing Fifth Quarter Extra every single night. Fifth Quarter, of course, on the air, always a good time as we kind of look forward to the second half of the high school football season and what that looks like as we move forward. G. Yeah, some really important games as we move forward. But what I love about this game is about people and people being able to come together, and we saw that a lot tonight. We'll see that moving forward as we get to bigger and bigger games, and we'll, of course, cover those, and bring you the latest here on WKRG News 5. Looking forward to it. For Pat O'Donnell, our producer, does a fantastic job. Gerhard, I'm Simone Eli. Everybody here at WKRG News 5. We will see you next week for Week 7. Have a great weekend. Everybody enjoy a great weekend of college football.